Welcome back to Sour Grapes. In this video we are going to be looking at the movie 28 Days Later. So if you are ready, let's go. In a countryside cottage, husband and wife, Don and Alice Harris, hide with other survivors. Alice still worries about their children, who, just before the outbreak, went on a school trip abroad. The couple dines with fellow survivors, Sally, Jacob, Karen, and Jeff. Karen saves a plate for her boyfriend, Sam, who left the group 5 days ago. Jacob argues that Sam is either dead or doesn't care for them anymore. They're interrupted by a frightened boy banging on the door and crying for help. Alice insists on letting the boy in, despite the risks. Don grabs a crowbar, ready to defend his wife and the rest. He opens the door, letting sunlight pour in, and sees the boy alone. Don pulls him in and frantically closes the door. The boy rushes to Alice's arms, thankful that he's safe. While the others are looking after the boy, Karen peeks outside the house, still hopeful that her boyfriend will return. An infected appears and grabs her arm, biting her. Jacob pulls her away, but Karen tackles him. Don hits her head with a crowbar to free Jacob. The others run away while Don fights the infected. More infected people break the windows, getting into the cottage. Alice and the boy run upstairs for safety. Jeff, Sally, and Jacob escape to the barn, with Jeff holding the door to allow the others to escape. Don kills an infected but loses his crowbar. He rushes upstairs to find Alice. Back at the barn, the door breaks, allowing the infected to overpower Jeff. Sally freezes in grief for her husband. Jacob tries to pull her up to the barn's second floor, but the infected grabs her. Unable to save her, Jacob shuts the trapdoor. Don finds Alice in the bedroom, but she refuses to leave without the boy. She finally sees the boy hiding in the closet and runs to him. An infected man breaks down the door, coming between Alice and Don. Alice screams for help, but the frightened Don shuts the bathroom door, leaving his wife to fend for herself. Don climbs out of the window and runs away. Alice sees him from the window. But Don continues to run, watching Alice get overpowered by the infected. Don sprints to the river with a horde closing in on him. He reaches the dock where Jacob is preparing the boat. Don gets in the boat, but Jacob falls in the water. Don tries to pull him up, but the infected pulls him down. Not long after, Jacob comes back up again, now infected. Don kicks him off the boat and escapes. His face is full of grief and fear, looking back to the window where he last saw his wife. 28 weeks after the Rage virus hit, an American-led NATO force assists Britain's repatriation after all the infected died from starvation. A sniper from the US military, Sergeant Doyle, keeps watch of the area while joking around with his friend, a helicopter pilot named Flynn. A plane arrives at the airport, bringing home Britons who escaped the outbreak. Major Scarlett Levy, a medical officer, watches the new arrivals and is upset to see children amongst them. Among the new arrivals are Tammy and Andy. Scarlett performs Andy's medical evaluation, noting his heterochromatic eyes, which he inherited from his mother. Andy and Tammy are taken to District 1, the first secured quarantine area after the outbreak. Arriving there, Tammy and Andy happily reunite with their father, Don. Meanwhile, Scarlett insists to her superiors that they are not prepared to admit minors. General Stone assures her that the virus will not come back, and if it does, they can control it. Back in District 1, Don gives his children a tour. He's a caretaker of the district, providing him a comfortable penthouse for his family. But they will be moved to a new house in a couple of months. Don explains that they can't return to their old home, given the lack of security in the area. This prompts Andy to ask about their mother. Don hesitantly lies about seeing Alice in a critical state, that he was too late to save her. Tammy tells him that they're happy he survived. That evening, Doyle sets up his sniper rifle to watch over the residents of District 1. Using his scope, he spies on the building's residents. When he sees the Harris family, he is glad that their operations help families reunite. Then, he sees a worried Scarlett in her room. Later that evening, Andy has a nightmare, seeing his infected mother. Andy tells Tammy that he's worried that he'll forget his mother's face. Tammy assures him that he wouldn't. On the next day, Tammy and Andy sneak out of the safe zone. Doyle spots them and reports the kids to be retrieved. Tammy and Andy run in the streets, finally getting a taste of freedom. They stop at a pizza restaurant, seeing a motorbike. Thinking that they can use it to make their trip faster, Tammy goes in and takes the key from a lifeless body. Tammy drives the motorbike until they finally reach their old home. They pick up the spare key hidden just as Dawn realizes they're missing back in District 1. The siblings enter their home and quickly retrieve Alice's photo. Then, Tammy and Andy collect personal items and clothes from their bedrooms. After a while, Andy calls out for Tammy, but she doesn't answer. He hears the door creak in the attic, and he goes in to investigate. Inside the attic, he sees bowls of rotting food and drawings on the wall. A movement catches his eye. He gets a closer look at the figure in the dark. It's Alice. Happy to see his mother, Andy hugs her. But Alice starts hugging him too tightly. Soldiers arrive in front of the house. Andy frees himself and runs out of the house with Tammy following him. The soldiers corner the children and investigate the house. In District 1, Alice is given a decontamination bath. She's later strapped to a bed, surrounded by soldiers. Scarlett asks how she survived for so long, but she's unresponsive. Scarlett rolls her sleeve to take a blood sample but sees a bite mark on Alice's arm. Alice insists on seeing her children. Don is surprised to hear that both his children and his wife were found. In the detention room, Don asks his kids why they left, but Tammy demanded the truth about Alice. Don lies that he's also confused but tells them they should be happy that Alice is alive. Scarlett confirms that Alice is infected through her blood test but shows no symptoms. She tells General Stone that Alice may have a natural immunity to the virus. But she's still a carrier and can infect others. General Stone decides to have Alice executed, despite Scarlett's insistence that studying her may lead to a cure. During this, Don enters the isolation room and tearfully apologizes to Alice for leaving her in the cottage. Alice assures him that she still loves him. Overjoyed with their emotions, Don leans in and kisses her. With a kiss, Don gets infected. Alice watches as the crazed Don struggles and vomits blood. Alice frantically wiggles out of her constraints, but she's trapped. The infected Don brutally kills her. Now infected, Don starts infecting the soldiers in his way. General Stone sees the tragedy. He announces Code Red to contain the outbreak. The soldiers lock down District 1. In the detention room, the soldier watching Tammy and Andy assures them that everything is fine, then leaves to check things out. But when he returns, he's infected and enraged. Scarlett shoots the soldier and takes the siblings away. The District 1 residents are being transferred to a secure location. Scarlett tries to get top priority security for Tammy and Andy, but the soldiers refuse. In the confusion, Andy gets pushed by the crowd, losing sight of Tammy and Scarlett. The residents are taken to the garage for their safety. They panic when the soldiers lock the doors. Andy finds a quiet corner to rest. The power shuts down, plunging the frightened residents into darkness. The fire exit door starts shaking, catching Andy's and another man's attention. Andy goes closer with the other man shining his flashlight on it. The infected Don bangs on the door. Andy is shocked to see his father in his monstrous state. Don goes for the other man with the flashlight, vomiting blood on his face. Don jumps to another person just as the man with the flashlight rampages. The crowd panics as more get infected. Andy climbs on top of people and cars, then climbs over the vent. He covers his ears to block out the screams. A group of people forces the locked doors open, allowing them to spill out of the building. The soldiers shoot the infected, but the confusion makes it difficult. Scarlett and Tammy exit the building. Watching the situation get worse, General Stone announces to shoot all targets, both infected or uninfected. Scarlett finds a radio and tells the military to find and evacuate Andy. Outside, Andy finally makes his way out of the vents. Doyle receives the order to shoot everyone on the ground and questions if he could kill innocent people. The snipers shoot everyone, causing more panic. Andy hears someone calling to him. He spots a man, Sam, beckoning him to get into a warehouse. An infected man runs to Andy. But Doyle saves Andy, allowing him to escape. One of the snipers gets cornered by the infected. Doyle shoots his comrade in the head to spare him from the infection. Doyle can't bear killing the innocent anymore. Inside the warehouse, Andy wanders around and finds Scarlett and Tammy. Tammy hugs her brother, relieved that he's safe. Andy tells Tammy that their father is infected. This breaks her heart. Sam wonders why the military is targeting everyone. Scarlett explains that the army must exterminate everyone if they can't contain the outbreak. They discuss how to escape both the infected and the military. Doyle walks in, telling them that they can evade the infected during the night, but not the snipers. Scarlett asks why he left his post. Doyle explains that he wants to escape the chaos, offering to help the survivors. Doyle leads Scarlett, Tammy, Andy, and a few others out of the building. Doyle gets a hold of Flynn, who informs him that the air cavalry is ordered to bomb District 1 to contain the outbreak. He tells Doyle to meet him at Regent Park. The groups run in the streets when a sniper starts firing at the survivors. The rest hide in an alley. Scarlett gets hit in the leg, but she quickly bandages it up. Doyle notices that the sniper is panicked, making his shots less accurate. He asks Sam to help him make the sniper reveal his position. But Sam is scared and refuses. Hearing this, Andy rushes across the street, using himself as bait for the sniper. Doyle hurriedly fires at the sniper. The rest go to Andy, seeing that he's okay. The survivors climb over the perimeter walls, watching the cavalry fly overhead. They head into a tunnel for safety. In his helicopter, Flynn watches as District 1 is bombed, with both the infected and non-infected burned alive. Soldiers in the control room watch the devastation. A placid Don evades the fire behind a wall while watching the photo of his wife and son burn in front of him. Doyle sees the flames reaching the tunnel. They rush out of the tunnel before it explodes. Stone listens to reports of the firebombs. A camera feed shows a few infected people survive the firebombs and are tearing down the barricades. Morning comes, and the survivors rest in Regent Park. Andy wonders if their mom is still alive, but Tammy doesn't think so. Doyle admits to Scarlett that he had Andy as a target, but he couldn't shoot the boy, so he left his post. Scarlett informs him that Andy and Tammy's mother was immune to the rage virus, and she believes that the two siblings may carry the same immune gene. She stresses that the kids' lives are more important than theirs. Flynn radios in, informing Doyle that the infected are nearby. Doyle tries to escape with the rest, but they're too late. The infected are close. Doyle orders them to hide in the grass. The helicopter arrives. Doyle insists on evacuating the kids over the channel, but Flynn refuses to take them. Seeing the infected getting near, Sam panics and grabs hold of the helicopter's skid, begging Flynn to take him away. Flynn flies the aircraft closer to the infected out of confusion. He aims the rotor blades down, slicing the infected. The others run away as the infected reach them. With infected blood on his face, Sam falls from the helicopter. Flynn flies the helicopter away, telling Doyle over the radio to head to the stadium, but insists on leaving the rest of the survivors. The group reaches the park's exit, but Andy trips. Doyle turns and shoots the infected to save him. Doyle tries to contact Flynn again, arguing for him to ignore the code red and save the rest. More infected people chase after them. The group runs but is stopped when nerve gas is pumped at the end of the road. They get in a van and close the vents, covering their faces. The infected bang on the windows until the gas finally kills them. Scarlett tries to start the car, but it won't. Doyle sees soldiers using flamethrowers to burn the infected. He tells Scarlett to get the kids to the stadium on her own before getting out of the car. Doyle rushes to the back of the car and pushes it. When the soldiers get near, he orders Scarlett to start the car, and it finally does. The trio watch in tears as Doyle is set ablaze by his fellow soldiers. Scarlett drives the kids to the stadium, avoiding roads where the nerve gas rolls in. An Apache gunship starts firing at them. Scarlett drives the car into an underground transit to avoid it. Leaving the car, Scarlett grabs Doyle's sniper rifle and leads the kids. Upon reaching a dark area, Scarlett watches through the rifle's night vision to direct the siblings where to go. Tammy and Andy blindly climb down a set of escalators. But the two slip down, out of Scarlett's sight. Following her voice, Scarlett finds Tammy. Don appears, ambushing Scarlett. He takes the rifle and slams it on Scarlett's head. When things go quiet again, Tammy finds the rifle and looks through the scope, seeing Scarlett's lifeless body. At the platform, Andy looks for the others, but Don walks in instead. Andy is frozen as Don tackles him to the floor, biting him on the neck. Tammy finds them, and Don runs to her. Tammy, no longer seeing her father in him, shoots Don. Tears in her eyes, Tammy walks to her brother. Believing that he will turn, Andy runs away from her. He collapses on the railway, allowing Tammy to reach him. She helps him up and checks his left eye, which turns bloodshot like Alice's was. Andy is also immune. The two reach the stadium, where Flynn waits. Flynn aims a gun at them and asks where Doyle is. Tammy shields her brother out of his sight. She tells him that it's just the two of them now. Flynn finally agrees to help out the siblings, flying them across the English Channel. Tammy and Andy watch the devastation that the outbreak caused. 28 days later, Flynn's helicopter is abandoned in France. He and the kids are nowhere in sight. A group of the infected run up a tunnel and out into the city of Paris as the new outbreak begins. Thank you very much for watching. If you want more videos, just hit the notification button. And once again, stay blessed and may the force be with you.